This is the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose, teaching influencers and bloggers how to become successful entrepreneurs. This is episode 125 of the Influencer Entrepreneurs Podcast with Jenny Melrose. Today, I am talking to Kate Jones of Kate Waldo & Co. We're going to be diving into how to run a successful small business as a blogger or influencer. So we are going to be sharing some of the systems that you need to put into place so that you can stop feeling overwhelmed. I know that crazy feeling of as if you're spinning 100 different plates trying to get everything done for your business. And if you want to scale your business, how to actually know to start to hire and hand things out. Kate has a great term that she uses in order to help with this. You are definitely going to want to make sure that you jump in and listen to this episode. All right, you guys, let's dive in. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, Jenny. I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I am so excited to have you on the podcast to be able to introduce yourself and really tell my audience a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really excited to be talking to you. My name is Kate Jones, and my company is Kate Waldo & Company, Kate Waldo & Co. We help influencers and bloggers organize and streamline all that icky admin stuff that you have to get done in your business to make it all work so that you can focus on what you actually really love doing.
Okay. Very good. That is excellent. Yeah, as far as my audience, they definitely could use help with the organization. I feel like that's one of the hot topics. No matter what I post, it's always about getting back the time that they don't have. So I'm really excited to dive deeper into this. Tell me a little bit about what you did prior to your online business, because I'm always curious to hear how people ended up on the online space.
Oh, yeah. I am a professional organizer. I started organizing people's homes and businesses, the physical items that they have. And that is where I started. And people kept asking me about their like, my digital life is so cluttered. I don't know where anything is. My email's a mess. My files are all over the place. I don't have any systems in place for how I run my life or my business. And it's really difficult for me. And that was something that I had to create in my organizing business for myself, because out of complete necessity, I'm obviously a pretty organized person as a professional organizer, but I really did feel kind of like a fraud because I was going into people's homes and working with them all day long. But then I had hours of admin work that I had to do afterwards, and I didn't have any systems in place to make that easier. I've started to notice that there were patterns of things that I was doing over and over again, and I needed to put systems in place to where I could do those more efficiently, knock them out, and then eventually start to outsource them to other people. And that was really that organization, those systems, that automation was what took my business from $2,000 months to $15,000 months. And it was a huge, huge difference in what it could do for my business. But as people kept asking me about it and they were interested about it, it was kind of what I geeked out on and really enjoyed. And so it became clear to me that, especially with influencers, the more questions that I got, people are teaching you all how to pitch, how to optimize your SEO, how to work on engagement, what's going on with the algorithms, how do you work on contracts, those kind of things. But nobody's really talking to you about how and helping you with how to organize everything that you have to do, because most influencers don't just have a blog. And even I'm air quoting here, just having a blog it's not a little thing. You have so much that you have to do. It's not just posting a photo on Instagram with a good caption. You're curating all the content that you make. You're maybe recording videos. You have to upload them. You have to optimize them. You have to edit them. You have to add captions and meta tags and make pins and oh my gosh, the list is just endless. There's so much. Plus, many, like we were just talking about with your audience, many of you have families. You have a podcast. You have a product that you sell. You are working with brand partnerships. There's all these different facets to the business, and it's really a lot to handle and a lot to do at once. And you probably got into being a blogger and an influencer because you like creating content for your clients, or you wanted to solve a problem for your following. So that is where Kate Waldo & Co. started to develop a program to help with that, so that you can focus more on actually what you love to do versus all the admin stuff that you have to get done.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So just listening to you list off all of the things that we do, it's like, it just keeps pounding down on our shoulders. I feel like as we continue to think of all of the things that we always talk about, hashtag all the things, and we're so overwhelmed and we have so many plates that are spinning. So I guess my biggest question is, what do you see as the biggest struggle for a business owner? And I feel like you started to touch on it with systems, but I'd love to know a bit more about where you feel that biggest struggle is.
I think the biggest struggle is not having systems in place to streamline what you already are doing and have to do, so that you can focus more on that high level thinking that you need to do. Because creating content and talking with your followers and the people that you partner with, that takes a lot of brain power. So if you're spreading yourself really thin when you're trying to do everything, and which as a business owner, especially when you're starting out, you're doing it all yourself. But when you are trying to do all these things, but you're also reinventing the wheel every time, you're sending a similar email multiple times and not creating a template for that, it's just going to lead to burnout really, really quickly. That is the thing that I see the most, is not creating a system that's repeatable for these tasks that you're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Okay. So I think that's the piece that I think confuses us the most, is we use that word almost like it's just lingo, right? That create a system. I've told my audience that so many times. Mm-hmm. I would love to break that down of how to actually develop that system to get it under control. What would that look like? If you could give examples or kind of like a step-by-step of how to kind of get us there. Maybe it would be helpful to start off with the one kind of underlying problem that I think is the largest is probably social media. So how do we go about developing a system to get that under control?
Well, I will give an example of not having a system and how it kind of crashed and burned for me. Yes. As an online business owner, there is so much that you have to do as an online business owner, a blogger, an influencer, like we talked about, so many pieces of what you have to do. So it's tempting to be able to take something and outsource it to somebody and just say, take care of it. But I did that with social media without having a plan and a system, as we're talking about. And it ended up creating more work for me. I was spending a lot of money to have this quote outsourced, but it wasn't the way that I liked it. It wasn't, I wasn't getting out of it what I was hoping that I would because of my investment. What I realized through going through that process was you have to have that. For that example, I should have created a plan of every week or 2 weeks, I want one repost of something that I like and relates with my brand. I want every 9 graphics, I want a quote. Every 3 photos, I need a photo of me. Something like that, some kind of general plan for what we're looking at. And then they can drag and drop and fill those pieces. And then also having a bank of words.
Yes. So I know exactly what you mean, in order to use it for copy so that you can create that content that really sounds like your voice.
Right, exactly.
Yes. No, absolutely. I think with that, the systems, yes, are so important. Once you have that system in place, then what does it look like to get it kind of moving and hiring in order to fill that spot?
Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just thinking of starting a podcast, you need to listen to Buzzcast from the folks at Buzzsprout. Here we go! Buzzcast covers everything a podcaster should know, from marketing strategies and how to make money from your podcast to the latest and greatest tech and industry insights to keep you on the cutting edge. Follow Buzzcast by clicking the link in the description or go to buzzcast.buzzsprout.com and keep podcasting.
Well, one thing I was going to say before I gave that example was that it is really important to kind of do a diagnostic of your business. Look at all the things that you're doing, just because I give this example all the time. When I first started my business, I met with this person that was a Google specialist for SEO. And they said, you really need to have Twitter, because if you have Twitter, you'll get ranked higher, all those things. Okay, I get that. But I was trying to add in Twitter to my daily, weekly, monthly social media calendar, and it just doesn't make sense for me. My following is not there. I don't understand the platform. It doesn't make sense. So I got rid of that task from my social media planning. And I think that we make the mistake of, and I make this on a regular basis, but I try my best to go back and analyze what I'm doing, that just because someone told you that you need to do it at one point, and even if it did work really well for your business at that point, you don't have to continue to do it.
Yes.
So if you can take an analysis of everything that you're doing with your business, that can look however you want it to be. You could take a piece of paper, write out everything that you do on a weekly basis, look at your to-do list that you've been using for the last few weeks, write down everything that you have to do, and decide if you can trim that task to make it shorter, if you can trash it, if you don't need to do it anymore. Like for me, sorry, but tweeting's out the window. That's not happening anytime soon. And then transfer as well. So once if you can analyze within your business all the tasks that you have, if they can be trimmed, trashed, or transferred, that's great, because you want to get off as much of your plate as possible so you can be doing the higher level portion of these tasks. Like even if it's a big task, like posting a video to YouTube, that is a multi-step process. But you can break it down into individual parts. Like you may need to create the script for the YouTube video. You may need to be the one who is doing the final negotiations with the company that is your brand sponsor for that post. And then you have to show up on the video, obviously, if that's the way that you do it. So if you can break it down into more steps and realize that there are parts of it that you don't necessarily need to be writing the transcripts, outsource that. And they can pull that from your outline too. You don't necessarily need to be doing the editing. You don't necessarily need to be doing the uploading and any of the descriptions, tags, all those things. Break these tasks down into, or maybe some of that doesn't need to be done at all. Maybe for you've been doing some specific way of tagging that you were told to do and it just hasn't been working for you. It's been a few months and it's just not working. Take that out. That's one less step that you're either spending your valuable time doing or you're paying someone else to do. Yes. Just get rid of it. So doing that analysis across your business, and it's a continual process that you'll have to do, but trim, trash, and transfer those tasks is what gets you ready to be able to outsource them.
I love that, because I think it's so easy to remember too, to take a look and say trim, trash, transfer. I'm going to be totally using that.
Oh yeah. And that is not my, I will give credit where credit is due. That specific phrase, I don't know that it's specifically Mike Michalowicz's original, but that's what he uses in his books Clockwork and Profit First. He uses that phrase. But
I'm a fan of him. So I love that you're bringing up Mike Michalowicz. He's awesome.
I love him.
funny. You can tell his sense of humor just from reading his books, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Writers can actually do that. So going back to that whole idea of the trim, trash, transfer, as far as I love the way that you talked about eliminating specific tasks that don't necessarily work for your audience. And you really have to know if it's going to be valuable to your audience there as well. So you talked about Twitter. We often in the blogging world, we'll talk about Facebook, and are we actually seeing traction from it? Does it serve the purpose that we need it to serve? And I think that really looking at it and analyzing it based on the numbers, based on your goals of what you're trying to actually get to is so important. So I love that you hit on that, because it can often feel like we're just chasing squirrels, not knowing which direction to go in. So if we can pick, I always try to tell people, pick two that you can focus on, get really comfortable with, and then possibly hand it off, transfer it, right? Or pick up something else, or continue just really diving and honing in on that. Like I feel like you did with your Zone of Genius of organizing. You've really honed in on that and made it almost a whole other business, really.
Yes, it is. It is a completely different business. Orchid Organizing is the professional organizing business for hands-on, and Kate Waldo and Company is all about the influencers, all about the bloggers, and helping you all to go through this process and this journey of being able to streamline all this stuff so that you can recognize these issues where you're like, okay, I mean, this is something that I did. Everybody was saying, go live on Facebook, go live on Facebook. And I was doing that, but it just didn't feel right. And I really wasn't getting any kind of engagement. I started going live on Instagram, and I'm having conversations with people. That's the whole point of what I'm doing. Wow. So now the Facebook lives, it just wasn't working. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. And it's a constant, balancing act.
Yes, no, absolutely. So now we kind of talked about the idea of once you get really comfortable, possibly being able to transfer that off. And yes. I think a lot of us struggle with who to hire. Where do we find these people that are going to be able to do things like many of us type A people want it to be done a very specific way? Where do we find them?
Well, I would say that there are virtual assistant agencies that you can use. You can also, I found that can be a little bit hit or miss. I have never used out of the country. Some people do suggest that they can come very inexpensively. I just can't speak to it. I've never used someone that's not in the US. Yeah. You can use companies domestic or international. Then you can ask for referrals, go in Facebook groups that you're in. That's one thing that Facebook is wonderful for, is that community and those groups, having conversations, asking for help about things specifically from a lot of people to get that kind of feedback. So asking specifically for recommendations of what you need. And then you can use sites like Fiverr. It's Fivver, and Upwork, that's Upwork, and I'm trying to think what else. Also, it depends on the task that you want them to do, because it's so tempting to offload everything. Like I was saying with my social media, I was like, here you go, just take it and run with it, but no plan. And it crashed and burned. And it was my fault. It was not their fault, because I didn't have a plan. And I also just wanted to outsource it and say, okay, like let's talk every week or so and expect a good result. That's just not realistic. I feel like there is a big confidence kind of jump you have to make in order to outsource. But that's why I recommend taking really small projects to start with first and testing those out. Because then you'll be able to see how that person works. How do they communicate with you? What do you need to do better in order to make them better at their job? Learning how to be more hands-off and letting them do their work. So I would recommend starting small. And I think a lot of people go to the VA, virtual assistant, that they think they just need to hire a VA and have them do all this stuff. I would suggest starting with something that is a lot smaller. Like I actually just wrote a blog post about how I used a VA for a launch, and I had her do some really simple tasks like editing, copy editing, grammar, all those kind of things. I had her actually I had all these business cards that I've been meaning to put in my CRM, my customer relationship management system, and I just hadn't done it. And so I took a photo of them, had her upload them and tag them the way that I wanted in my email system and my CRM. Those are really small tasks, but it would have taken me forever. Yes, you're totally capable. But if you can have somebody else do that for you, start with those little things. As we worked through that process together, I started to notice what she was really good at. She was really good at noticing not just grammar and spelling, but when something didn't make sense, when I was too in my head. We were talking about being an online business owner. Sometimes you get too in your head and you're too much around your people that you start talking in jargon and you're not talking to your customer or your following anymore in words that they understand. So it's kind of nice to have somebody outside that world that can check you on that.
Yes. I love that all. And it's that whole idea I feel like often gets missed is that, like you said, people just look to hire a VA and think that they can do all the things, when in reality, you kind of spoke to it. It's like it was her zone of genius. That was she was really good at. And finding those people that are really good at specific things. I think I've had the best success in hiring when I have found people that are good in that specific area. Like I have someone separate for Pinterest, someone separate for Facebook. There's someone separate that does my podcast editing. So really finding those people that are going to be good in that area, because I think what will also happen is they're faster at it. They're going to understand what you're looking for better because it's their thing. Just like your thing is organizing for online business owners, just really finding the right people for that. I think that that's great, Kate, the way that you explained that. Awesome.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference to hire somebody that's really specialized in what they do. And you can test it out smaller with someone that, like, say you have a friend who's in between jobs, or you've got a niece or nephew that is in college and they're really good on a computer and they're quick and they could use $10 an hour for 10 hours. Great. You can test it out in those situations to get you a little more comfortable. But then looking at those bigger items on your to-do list that have been there forever, like say SEO is just not your thing. You could hire someone out for example, maybe it's $300 to hire someone to do your SEO for your website. Well, that probably would take you, who knows, 10 hours plus, and it's going to take them a fraction of the time, and it's going to be done really professionally, really well. That if you look at, okay, say it would take you 10 hours at $100 an hour, so that's $1,000 versus $300 to have it done really well by someone who knows what they're doing. They've got the practice, they've got the experience, they know exactly what they're looking for. It's a really good trade-off.
Yes. And you can be, instead of spending your time doing something that you probably don't like, you can be doing something that is a higher cost for you to be doing, moving your business, continuing to move your business forward. So I love that example. And as we were starting the conversation, I thought back to your story of how it shifted from being in-home organizing and how it became this online space. And I feel like it's because every single time, like I just got back from a conference in Salt Lake, and I think I probably walked away with 10 or 15 new apps that were recommended to me to help me get organized. Mm-hmm. I just feel like there's so many options now compared to the way that it was 10, even 5 years ago. There weren't all these different options. So when it comes to apps and getting organized, do you have recommendations or something that can kind of drive us to the right ones? Because I swear my phone is getting overloaded.
Oh yeah, I totally understand that. Well, I would say that the most important things for you to start with to organize your mind, your business, all of those things is one centralized to-do list. And for that, I recommend using Asana. That's Asana. That is my favorite. There are others that are similar, but Asana is really great because you can have different projects. Like say you've got your PR, you've got your blog post drafts, you've got what you do for YouTube, you've got your website. all that you've got your product, whatever you've got going on for that. You can have, it can be separated into those different projects, but you can see it all in one list, but you can see it, you can collapse the tabs where you only see it for what's due today. So it's not too overwhelming. And you can really easily add on other people to a project, say like your Pinterest manager. You would have a board for your Pinterest and they would be collaborators on that board. You could work together on it. You can track the process. You can comment to one another. There's all sorts of great parts of it. It's free. They have a professional paid version, but even really large companies use the free version, and we've loved it for our team. It's fabulous. But the point of having that centralized to-do list is because if you have everything everywhere, you've got sticky notes, you've got a notepad, you've got your Apple Notes, and then your Apple Tasks, and then you maybe are using one of these apps occasionally, you can't possibly outsource what you don't have written digitally in one place.
Right.
And that's a really big first step to getting you with somebody who can help take over those tasks for you. And then, so Asana would be my absolute must have. It's very easy to use. It's got a really good app and a desktop version. And then second, I would say having a customer relationship management tool. That is really important. Coming from sales and corporate America, I thought I would never have to touch something like Salesforce again. And I was so excited about that. But in reality, having a tool to keep all of your contacts, all of those important information about everyone that you met, you've interacted with, you've worked with in one place is so important, because really why we're doing all of this is to form relationships. People want to work with you and want to do favors, collaborate with you because they like you as a person, not because you are X business. So having all that contact information stored where you can also write notes about these people that you've met will help foster that relationship to where you can say, oh, Jenny, how was your anniversary last month? I, been meaning to catch up with you too. We've got this project going on that I'd love to collaborate with you on. You're probably a lot more likely to answer me or want to work with me if I'm talking to you as a person and not just as another blast email that I'm sending out to a bunch of people.
Yes. So this is so what exactly are you using for that? You said Salesforce. Is that what you use?
No, I wouldn't recommend Salesforce. That's really an enterprise tool. But I was just saying that in sales, that's what a lot of people use in bigger companies. But I use Dubsado. It's Dubsado. And that is my favorite, especially for someone who provides a service or coaching. It is a wonderful tool. We talk about that a lot inside of Organized Influencer Academy, how to set it up and all those things, because it can store all of your contacts. You can keep all of those notes together. You can send emails that are tracked. You can see when they're opened, and you can send invoices. You can collect payment. It's all beautiful. You can send proposals. It all looks really, really nice and beautiful. If you own your own product, I would say that if it's a physical product, I would say something more like Shopify would be good for you. Or if you work with something like Beauty Counter or Makeup Line or something like that, it probably isn't the best tool for that. But I'd say Dubsado is really great. And then if for pitching, it's a little bit more expensive, but HubSpot is really great for setting up email automations to automatically respond back to people and keep that conversation going.
Yes. Okay. No, excellent. Yeah. I met while I was at this conference in Salt Lake, there was a software developer that was there that's actually coming out something somewhat similar. I have a conversation with them actually scheduled for later in the week to kind of see where it's going to go that would work for the whole pitch side and everything else for bloggers. But yes, like having something, and whether it's even for bloggers that are not necessarily product or service based yet, but are looking at it as it would work well for pitching as far as knowing the brands that you've already spoken to.
Oh, yes.
As well as blogger collaborations. You all go to all these conferences and you network with these other bloggers, knowing who they are, what content they write, and how you could possibly work together, whether you're working on a cookbook or whether you are looking to do a giveaway, whatever it might be. Really understanding where those relationships came from, I think it would be great for that. And I had never thought of doing it that way.
Yeah, because keeping it all in your email is fine. And, if you have a system for organizing all the different people that you've met and the emails and the collaborations and all those things, that's fine. But I think that it is a very, very important addition to have a customer relationship management tool of some sort. It could even be as simple as a Google spreadsheet that you keep everyone's information in. But being able to track those and go back and say you're going to, I'm going to Hawaii in a week. Say I was going to Hawaii and I thought about it a month before and went back through my contacts and said, okay, they're swimwear, they do sunscreen, and they do really cute hats. Well, let me reach out to them proactively and say, hey, I'm going to Hawaii. Why don't, I'd love to take some of your product with me and, let's talk about a project together, and reaching out to them proactively. And then, I'd love to get you who wouldn't want content photography from Hawaii? That's a really proactive step that you can take when you have that CRM system that you can really keep track of who you've worked with before. So who would be a warmer lead, who would be a colder lead, and would be likely to work with you, that you have it all in one place. It all makes sense. Who are the apparel people, who are the beauty people. You can reach out to them and work on a project together proactively. I think it's a really great tool for that.
I love it. No, it's good. It has all my wheels turning right now of all the different things that I could be using that for. So smart. So you actually have a full list of apps that you use, which we're going to actually link to in the show notes, that y'all can make sure that you come over and download that list of apps so that you can get rid, trim, right? Or trash, even.
Trim, trash, transfer.
Trash those apps that you're not using and get some ones that are, definitely certified by Kate that they work well for that purpose. Where else can my listeners follow you, Kate?
You can follow us. It's Kate Waldo & Co. on pretty much everything. That's Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and then our website is katewaldoandco.com.
Perfect. All right, great. We're going to make sure to link to all those in the show notes. Kate, I appreciate you so much for taking the time to speak with me and really dive into this topic with my audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
I don't know about you guys, but immediately following this conversation, I wanted to organize everything that I had in my online business. So I'm hoping that you are making sure that you grab that freebie that she talked about, the checklist for the apps that are going to help you get organized in your business, as well as I'm super excited to be able to offer you a chance to attend one of her free trainings. So if you click over to the show notes, we are going to have that linked in the end of the show notes that you can grab, jump in and get into that webinar. As always, I appreciate you guys so much for taking the time to listen in. Give me a screenshot and tag me at Jenny_Melrose on Instagram. You'll get a message back from me, sometimes even a video. I have been known to do that. So I love seeing where you're listening to the podcast, though. It is just so interesting to me, and I love being able to follow along with you. I also would love it if you guys would leave a review on iTunes. And when you do, use your Instagram name so I can DM to thank you, and also then get your address to send you a little something in snail mail. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, I will see you all then.